What's up? On a mission to rule this world, and I won't stop till it's all razed to the ground. But I can't help but feel like I'm just trying to make dead people amazed and proud. So I did my best to scream nothing, not a sound escaped my mouth. Then I saw my brother get killed, nothing, not a sound escaped my mouth. With a plan to rise to the occasion, through trials and tribulation, these hypocrite council of elders with endless debates, laws and stipulations. It all started right in the heart of a battlefield. As a baby, could not run away from enemies, so it's time for me to embark on investigation. Soon after, the tablets telling me there's no stopping the curse of hatred. Then I woke up in the real world, that's an illusion. I'm trapped in the matrix, started thinking about back to the basics. If I one-shot life, I can make it. Trying to create while I destroy, like I'm trying to make the very music that I'm facing. Later on that day, I fell to the ground from exhaustion, laying on my back cause I'm half conscious. I can only stare at the blue skies. Then I told myself I can beat time. It's like I believed in my own lies, pushing everyone away with the diva path and the renegade gun in both eyes. And it's unfair, cause all my ninjas we see what is not there, like an illusion. If it's so real, then tell me why do I feel like it's not real, like an illusion. And it's
Is at risk of serious injury, or worse.
In that case, I will send some men out immediately.
Thank you. I must say, I am now very curious about this matter, and I will also need some time to consider your offer. I will first join the Traveler in investigating the one...
Very well. Please stay safe.
Come on. Let's go and track down your aggressor.
The detective agency knows the most about what goes on in town. Let's see what Ryuji has to say. Up and away. We'd like to ask, do you know if anyone around...
Aha! So this is the renowned Mr. Kaidehara. I've heard a lot of...
You are too kind. We are...
Oh? You were targeted in an assault? Mr. Kaidehara is currently the talk of the town, so there are always a lot of people. To be honest with you, our detective agency has recently been receiving many inquiries from people. Some of them were offering us millions of mora just to gather the information they want.
Millions?
Please, accept my thanks for looking out for my privacy.
Of course. No... Sorry, but I wouldn't know where to begin if we want...
Then let's put that... The Tenryou Commission had very few leads.
It's true that the commissioners aren't... If anyone had been out there attacking people, that would be assault.
Uh-oh. Looks like the trails are...
I still find it difficult to believe that whoever attacked you hasn't been causing any trouble. Few people possess your prowess in battle. So unless you were the first person he targeted, someone is certain to have been hurt by now. I am well aware of your talent. It would cause me great grief to see someone become critically injured or lose their... For the poor victim,
Don't worry, we'll find him.
It seems you are every bit the selfless hero they make you out to be, Mr. Kaedehara.
You flatter me. Truth be told, I don't know quite what came over me and
You are much too humble. Don't worry. Oh, actually, there was one strange incident over the last few days. It doesn't involve an attack, though. Let me tell you about it, Justin.
sure. During times like
All right, then. Recently, 2 people went missing from the city at around the same time. One of them is a pretty well-known collector, surnamed Nagato. The other, Amenoma Yuya, is a samurai from the Amenoma clan.
Amenoma. Now,
Right. Yuya is the nephew of Amenoma Togo, the owner of Amenoma Smith. 2 grown men going missing at the same time. I recalled this because Amenoma Yuya is also an accomplished martial artist who is skilled with the blade. Perhaps he is the one you are looking.
understood, though it seems highly unlikely to me. I neither know this man, nor do I have any idea why he may wish.
sure, can't hurt. We never know what we might find out.
Thank you, Ryuji. We'll start by making.
Sounds good.
If it isn't Kaedehara Kazuha.
Huh? You two know each other?
Yes, the Kaedehara and Amenoma clans were both members of the Raiden Gokaden. Historically, there have. After I returned to Inazuma, I visited Mr. Amenoma to pay my let me quickly explain. The Raiden Gokaden was the collective term for the 5 most acclaimed bladesmithing arts in Inazuma. The techniques of blade making were personally bequeathed to the Raiden Gokaden by the almighty Shogun, and over time, further honed and enhanced by the most talented craftsmen. Unfortunately, a series of events led to the gradual decline of many clans in the bladesmithing trade. Today, only the Amenoma clan has kept its art alive.
So,
It is a great pity indeed. In the old days, as an example, the Amenoma art strives. There is nothing mystical to our work. There is only practice, day in and day out, until both body and mind have memorized the craft, turning each motion of every tech. As for the art of the Kaedehara clan,
That's right. Ishin art strives for complete harmony between blade and mind, for only a blade thus.
indeed, you are, without a doubt, the most worthy wielder of an Ishin blade. It gladdens my heart to see that although the Kaedehara clan has fallen on hard times, its ideals and virtues.
You overestimate me. But let's get back on top. We hope to assist with the investigation.
Ah, yes. He didn't say a word before, but I've done what I can so
we heard that there was a collect.
Yes. On the morning that Yuya went missing, he gave me a very cryptic look and said that he was going to give me a great. I believe he went to collect the item from Mr. Yes. Strange, isn't it?
Do you have.
If I had to guess, it must have. He's never been particularly interested in blade forging. He is extraordinary.
Truth be told, based on the evidence we have gathered.
What? No. Absolutely impossible. Yuya is not that. He is humble and kind. Yes. If there's one thing I can say. But, with that said, it's equally out of character for him to just disappear with neither farewell nor fair warning. I also cannot know what course of action he might be capable of if coerced or otherwise compelled by circumstances unbeknownst to me. Anyway, should you find him, please let me know it.
Don't worry. You have our word.
From the sound of that, Paimon doesn't think Yuya was the one who attacked us.
Yes. It sounds as if something happened when the 2 men met each other. Let's pay a visit to the Naga.
I'm very sorry, but we cannot afford to pay what we owe. My husband has gone
No, you misunderstand us. We are here to help with the
Ah, I see. I thought the debt collectors had come to visit again. I'm sorry you have to see me in this dreadful state.
I'm afraid we don't have any new information at the moment. With this in mind, can we perhaps ask some...
For example...
That's a long... He'd always get so animated when he was showing them to me. I knew nothing about the items myself, but seeing how enthusiastic and excited they made him... Everything was fine when we first got married. But as time went by...
Uh-oh!
He lost his sense of restraint. He started buying more and more things, and even resorted to borrowing money just so he could pay for them. Our expenses really spiraled out of control when he started getting interested in weapons. It was awful. He wouldn't sell them, wouldn't even touch them. Just sat there staring at them like he was in a trance. I'm happy he has a hobby, and I'm willing to support him, but making ends meet has to come first. I've tried talking to him about it so many times. On the last day that I saw him, I gave him an ultimatum. I said, if he refused to sell his collectibles and pay off his debts, I would divorce him and take the children with me.
Whoa!
And that led to an...
Actually, it didn't. Generally, he's a quiet man who likes to go with the flow. On most things, he leaves the decision-making to me. You must understand, I never would have dreamed of threatening him with divorce if the debts hadn't pushed our family to the brink. After I said those words, he froze and was silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, he awkwardly mumbled that he would pick out a few items to sell. His voice was so meek and pitiful that I felt an urge to take everything back. But then what? If I didn't draw the line, what would happen to our family? Had I not indulged his bad habits, we wouldn't have found ourselves in such a... And I also don't know if he had actually come to his senses, or if he was simply angry with me. The next thing I heard was that our warehouse had caught fire, and both he and the buyer had gone missing.
I see. Ame no Mayuya came to purchase a weapon from Mr. Nagato. During the sale, a fire broke out at the warehouse, and both men disappeared.
At first, I assumed they must have gotten into an argument, but my husband has never been one to negotiate. He never even haggles when he's out buying groceries, so it's hard to imagine him getting into a
Maybe...
I don't know. He just... Perhaps he's too afraid to come home, now that all his collectibles have been lost in the fire, and he's... Even though I'm still a little mad at him. We're a family, and I want us to... As long as he's willing to turn over a new leaf, I know we can work things out.
Please don't get upset. There could be more to this situation than meets... If collecting things is a habit that Mr. Nagato had his whole life, it is quite unusual for this habit to change so drastically over a short period. But the information we gathered from the other side suggests Ame no Mayuya is also a mild-mannered man who would not be likely to start an argument.
A little confusing. More like completely mystifying.
Let's try a change of scenery. Rest assured, we'll know...
Thank you so much.
Based on the information we've gathered so far, I can only surmise the fire at the warehouse likely played a part in how the... Do you have any thoughts?
Nope, never mind. Paimon's brain needs to rest for a while. Over to you.
Right. I very much agree with you. Working off what we know so far, there are too many things that don't add up. The chances are that there are still some clues left for... One fact that I keep coming back to is that Ame no Mayuya is polite and well-mannered, while Mr. Nagato is introverted and passive. Neither seems like the type of person who is inclined towards initiating conflict. Mr. Nagato, being heavily in debt, the more I ponder it, the... Right. Although Ame no Mayuya lacks...
Darn!
Let's keep going, since we've come this far. If we can solve the case, both Mr. Amenoma and Mrs. Nagato will be able to get some closure.
Okay.
Let's head out of the city and check out. Wait. I hear something,
Oh! This must be another one of the... As sketchy as that whole thing seems, you did...
Now I'm picking up a strong scent in a...
But there's nothing here.
It's gone now, but I can still sense the direction it left in. It felt very much like that ancient presence in Inazuma. Indeed. We should remain vigilant.
So it's an
The force is definitely coming from down... The source of the Tatari... Judging from the concentration, I would have to conclude that the Tatarigami source resided here for a very...
Mrs. Nagato said her husband used to hang around...
It could well be that he was already under the influence of Tatarigami energy at that... From what I've been told, Tatarigami does not turn all upon whom it preys into violent but most will develop a stubborn streak upon being exposed to the Tatarigami's unfulfilled will. Mr. Nagato had an interest in collecting to begin with. The influence of Tatarigami could explain why he became an obsessive hoarder, amassing more and more possessions.
So what should we do next?
Step back. I'll open the door and take a look. If we don't open this door, we can move no... You needn't worry. Both of us have faced far greater dangers than this.
What's down?
Everything's buried in debris. I can't see... It looks like the fire caused a cave-in, reducing the entire warehouse to rubble.
That was too scary!
All we can do now is keep searching in the direction of two ordinary humans, entangled with the Tatarigami. I fear much misfortune. Yes, let's go. Quiet your mind and focus on what... From this point, the trail appears to split into two. The main source of the Tatarigami energy continued on into the distance, but a small... Quite possibly.
Whoa! Look at all those hilly churls! They're acting really strangely.
Something seems to be drawing their attention. Let's take a closer look.
Forth, my blade!
Fire hazard!
It's...
Ugh! Look at...
By the looks of it, a letter. Well... According to this letter, a conflict arose because Amenoma Yuya wanted to seize a blade belonging to Mr. Nagato. Yuya started the fire that destroyed the warehouse and wounded Mr. Nagato in the fight. Mr. Nagato kept chase as long as he could, eventually stopping here to write this letter when his strength gave out.
So,
He was not only mortally wounded, but also under the heavy influence of Tatarigami. Add to that the fact that its aura seems to have attracted a horde of monsters, and I'm afraid whatever traces there may have been of his fate beyond after this point, they've since been disturbed by the hilly churls. Yes, right now, if Amenoma Yuya is attacking other people...
right! So let's get moving!
I wouldn't be surprised if he, too, fell prey to the influence. For a practitioner of the martial art, all the clues that at first... I have a hypothesis.
Wait! You figured it out?
I believe so. On with the search. He seems to have stayed here for a long time.
Why here? Is it...
I'm not sure. Show yourself!
Kaedehara Kazuha. It's you, at last.
Aha! So it is this... What's your problem, huh?
Indeed, there should be no enmity between us. If it is Amenoma Yuya that stands before... But what if instead of facing Amenoma Yuya, we are in fact facing the blade in his hand?
Now that you mention it, it is giving off a strange light. Whoa, whoa! Surely you don't mean...
Tatarigami energy often lodges itself within physical objects, then works to subtly affect any living organisms in its vicinity. The blade has resided in Mr. Nagato's warehouse for many years, affecting his state of mind, and more recently using the sale as a means to affect, or rather as a means to occupy, Amenoma Yuya's body.
You're sharper than I thought. You've already deduced the truth of the matter. Many, many years ago, I was forged by a famed bladesmith of the Ishin tradition. I was his pride and joy. In me, he placed all his hopes and dreams. As a descendant of the Kaedehara clan, you should be able to guess our greatest regret.
I presume it has something to do with the Raiden Gokaden.
Indeed. At that point in time, he failed to live up to the Raiden Shogun's expectations. In the end, all he could do was to flee the nation by sea on a ship bound for Snezhnaya. He was a bladesmith of great renown, a master of his craft. There was nothing that he could not accomplish. All he needed was more time and a little faith. And sure enough, in the end, he achieved what he had set out to do. All of his life's work, his wisdom, his skill, it culminated in his creation of me. He not only bestowed upon me the greatest of strength, but also endowed me with a consciousness of my own. In her conceit, the Raiden Shogun lost not only the single most perfect blade in the entire world, but also an irreplaceable achievement in the art of blade forging.
So... swords can become conscious and control people?
The people of the time in which I was born never believed I had that kind of power. They saw me as a mere blade, a sharp and well-crafted one, but in all other respects an ordinary weapon. But that gave me the opportunity to take action. After the death of my creator, I decided to leave Snezhnaya and began my long quest to return to the distant land of Inazuma. Moving from one person to the next, I controlled the minds of countless hosts along the way, each bringing me one step closer to my ancestral home. I seek but one thing: to face the full force of the Raiden Shogun's blade and prove my power, the might of Ishin art!
So Amenoma Yuya was not your first victim. Tell me, what happens to those you've possessed when you've finished using them?
My hosts? Who cares what happens to them? They are but tools that serve my mission. When they got tired, or injured, or unusable, I hopped to the next one in line. All I needed them for was to take me back to Inazuma.
You're awful!
After I returned to Inazuma, I decided to bide my time in Nagato's warehouse until Amenoma Yuya handed himself over to me on a silver platter. At long last, I'm approaching my journey's destination. By Amenoma Yuya's body, I have found you, and by your hand, I shall defeat the Raiden Shogun! Kaedehara Kazuha, you stood against the Raiden Shogun's Muso no Hito. Now, give you...
Let's light it up! I'm going in!
Submit for judgment!
A festive retreat!
The wind knows me.
We shall rewrite history! Join me and sever that divine light!
Birds come!
Rewrite history! Do not stand in my way, or I will strike!
Your bluff's fooling no one!
Lost. I can never lose. It is this bot. Even if you defeat me here, he is but a puppet that can be replaced. The end result is the same. I will, and even if I were to lose my physical by any means necessary.
Your fighting style. It is indeed the forms of Ishin art, but from your movements, I sense only hatred and arrogance, as well as a thinly veiled mania and despair.
Really? You can tell all...
As I've mentioned before, the forms of Ishin art convey the user's thoughts and feeling. Since the blade is currently possessing Amenoma Yuya's body, its movements express the innermost thoughts of the blade. If you ask me, the mania is probably due to your desperate, single-minded ambition. You believe I am your only...
Are you trying to claim that I am helpless without... On his deathbed, he passed to me all of Ishin art's secrets. The little that you know barely scratch. In that regard, why would I...
Because all of that is in the past. I've been wondering why you've not caused more trouble in all the years that you've been in Inazuma. If you are indeed a cursed blade that can possess its owner. Now that I've seen inside your mind, everything finally makes sense. You weren't biding your time. After all the time that's passed, you have grown weak. To the point that you are now unable to acquire a new host without making physical contact.
Oh, that's right! Paimon remembers now! Mr. Nagato had a habit of never touching his collectibles.
Only when Mr. Nagato witnessed his wife's distress and decided to sell his collectibles did you finally have an opportunity to reach out to Amenoma Yuya and make your escape.
And what of it?
Well, that brings me to my second point. There's a despair in you that is so strong it threatens to overwhelm you. You were determined to fulfill your maker's ambition, whatever the cost. But this ambition is too grand and too heavy for you to bear. Each step you have taken has come at a great cost. I think you realized your limitations long ago. The more you clenched your teeth and pressed forward, the greater your fear of losing everything you had achieved grew, and the more you wished to run from the truth. But the way I see it, what began as an ambition has long since become a delusional fantasy.
What would you know about any of this? I'm just one step away from a...
You returned to Inazuma to prove the unparalleled brilliance of Ishin art. But to make this arduous journey, you committed countless atrocities and showed a blatant disregard for human life, even if you were to sever that divine light. Is this truly the outcome that your maker would have desired? Sure, you inherited the secrets of Ishin art. But even as you made your journey to honor this legacy, you treated the ones who wielded you as mere tools to do your bidding. How could you possibly unleash the full potential of Ishin art when you act in perfect discordance with the principle of harmony between a blade and its bearer?
Silence, you blabbering... I must achieve my goal. I will concede that you are
And you should face reality.
Easy for you to say. Facing reality up. I have no need of anything that would stand in my way. It is pointless to...
How stubbornly you... I do not believe for a second that you can challenge the almighty Shogun in your current state. So let us make a bet, and I will put your strength to the test.
What? Sure.
Very well. Then find yourself some enemies with whom you wish to cross blade. Once we have dealt with them...
And as for your end of the bargain, if you lose, you must release Amenoma Yuya from your...
Don't do this, Kazuha!
This is the only way to save Amen. The cursed blade's strength is currently very weak, and I sent the power of the Tatarigami...
What?
Even if things take a turn for the worse, we have a chance here to save an innocent victim. I am willing to accept the risks entailed.
Your disdain for me betrays your woeful ignorance. Now.
Kazuha?
I felt a little dizzy at first. It's all right. So far, this was as I expect. I will.
What should we do next?
We find some enemies. Although this blade has endured much turmoil, it probably hasn't experienced many real fight. If a blade built for Ishin art cannot enter a state of harmony between blade and bearer, it cannot unleash its true power. If he wants to avoid reality, then we need to fight until he has no choice.
Wait a minute! Paimon remembers hearing since the Takatsukasa clan abandoned...
All right.
What about Amenoma?
The blade says he'll let Amenoma Yuya trail us silently.
Are we sure this is a good idea? Okay, fine.
If you have made it to the end of the video and you ain't like it yet, what the fuck are you doing, my guy?
Goddamn button!
Push the goddamn button!
You heard what she said.
Weapon of mass destruction. Weapon of mass destruction. Thank God I ascended. I prayed for the ending of conflict and deliverance from all those monsters who lived in my conscience. You hear helicopters that carry Uchiha doctors and surgeons to cut out all the self-hatred I fostered, but it's like... Soldier on the battlefield, stay alive, only thing that's mattering. Unbu clan, vanity stabilize the generals that are saber rattling. Death toll is maddening, dismantling the faith of a snake, choose tattling, so saddening. Still battling these demons, everything in sight, I'm flannery. Finna step in fire.